From N=1 to N=M Biomedical Systems and Lifestyle Survival Part 2, number 1642, May 15, 2026. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Lifestyle Medicine. Why loading history matters. One of the most important ideas I carried from engineering into medicine is loading history. A bridge does not collapse only because the last truck was too heavy. It collapses because thousands of trucks before it slowly weakened the structure. The final truck may be the trigger, but it is not the whole story. Similarly, the calcification and weakening of my brain's microblood vessels were not produced by only 1 or 2 years of diabetes. They were gradually accumulated over many decades of chronic glucose exposure, obesity, hypertension, aging, and metabolic stress. The human body behaves in a similar way. Most doctors focus mainly on the acute event, stroke, heart attack, or kidney failure. I became much more interested in the long road leading toward the event. Before my stroke on June 21, 2025, my 90-day moving average TSI stroke risk remained above 100 for a prolonged period. It stayed near a dangerous zone, above 110, for a long time. My stroke event eventually occurred near the tail end of this prolonged high TSI period. From an engineering viewpoint, staying near a dangerous limit for a long time can be more important than one isolated high value. This is why long-term trajectory matters. It shows the hidden direction of the system before the final event happens. Lifestyle medicine is harder than it looks over time. I realized that lifestyle medicine is much harder than many people think. It is not simply eating less sugar, walking more, or losing weight for a few days. Lifestyle medicine includes food, nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, psychology, discipline, habit formation, emotional control, family environment, and personal behavior. These factors interact continuously every day over many years. If all of these academic branches are combined together, the overall complexity is probably no less than the curriculum of an entire medical school. However, the true challenge of chronic disease management is not knowledge alone, but sustained execution over decades, which includes tremendous willpower, persistence, emotional control, and long-term self-discipline. Most people already know that smoking is harmful, obesity is dangerous, and too many carbohydrates and too much sugar damage the body. The real problem is not knowledge. The real problem is doing the right things consistently for many years. This is why personality matters. Intelligence alone is not enough. Willpower, discipline, emotional stability, honesty, self-control, persistence, adaptability, and long-term purpose can strongly influence health and longevity. From N=1 to N=many at the beginning, my work was purely N=1. It was based on one body, one patient, and only long-term biomedical system. However, many people misunderstand this kind of approach and assume that an N=1 study must automatically have a narrow viewpoint. In reality, the key issue is not how many patients you study, but how much information, how much longitudinal data, and how much dynamic system behavior you can observe from a single body over a long period of time. A single biomedical system observed continuously for many years may contain far more useful dynamic information than a large statistical database built from scattered snapshots of many different people. But gradually, something unexpected happened. Part of hundreds of people from my social media groups in Japan, Taiwan, the United States, and other countries began sending feedback after reading or listening to my research papers through YouTube using AI-translated voice recordings. Over time, my work slowly expanded beyond a pure N=1 self-study. Patients, readers, and ordinary people from different countries started sharing their own experience, symptoms, questions, and observations with me. This allowed me to compare patterns across different biomedical systems while still maintaining my original long-term, mechanism-focused approach. Some people reported the joy of lowering their glucose and HbA1c levels, reducing joint pain caused by overweight control, developing better lifestyle habits, and gaining stronger long-term motivation. One audience member reduced his HbA1c from 10% to 7% over a 3-year period by following the personal lifestyle principles I described in my research discussions and YouTube presentations. This changed my feeling about my work. My original N=1 study slowly became a growing and pattern. It suggested that the principles I observed in my own body may also help other human bodies. This is emotionally meaningful to me. My work began as a self-survival lighthouse, but it may now help other people understand their own survival. Bypassing traditional academic systems over time, I moved away from traditional academic publishing, including both journals and conferences. Many journals reject ideas that do not fit their existing categories. Modern medicine is still heavily statistical, disease-specific, and divided into separate specialties. For example, medicine often separates the heart and brain into different disciplines, even though these two organs share many similar vascular and metabolic causes of disease. In many ways, those academic techniques consumed a great deal of my productive time, energy, and money, valuable resources that could instead have been used to help underprivileged children. Without meaningfully improving the actual quality or practical value of my research results. My approach combines mathematics, engineering, pathophysiology, system behavior, lifestyle medicine, and psychology. It does not fit neatly into one traditional box. Therefore, I began to communicate directly through YouTube, a voice translation, and a few selected social media platforms. Interestingly, many ordinary patients understood my ideas faster than some traditional medicine professionals. Perhaps this is because they are living through chronic disease themselves. They do not need perfect academic language. They need useful explanations in plain languages that help them survive. Knowledge philanthropy. An unexpected part of this journey was the humanitarian side. I began supporting underprivileged students to help organize, translate, and distribute my learning notes online. In return, they received tuition support, food and living expense support through their own labor and efforts, while maintaining their self-pride and dignity, along with opportunities for a college education. Looking back, this became a form of knowledge philanthropy. At age 79, fame, titles, money, and academic recognition have become far less important to me. I am no longer interested in power or control, like powerful politicians and financial giants often pursue. Instead, I still hope to retain the power to positively influence people regarding their health, survival, and longevity. What matters most to me now is whether my learned medical and health knowledge can help other people suffer less, understand their bodies better, and live longer. Special notes regarding AI. Richard Sutton, and future intelligence. Recently, I also became more interested in the limitations of current AI systems. Richard Sutton, a Turing Award winner and pioneer of reinforcement learning, has criticized the current direction of commercial AI tools. Today's large language models (LLMs) are mostly language-centered. They are good at wording, but often weak in scientific-style reasoning, mechanism, trajectory, and real system behavior. This is because modern AI is trained mainly on text, internet language, and human writing patterns, but engineering and scientific thinking are different. They focus more on mechanism, structure, causality, movement, interaction, and failure analysis, not only on polite tone, conservative positioning, or beautifully polished wording. Sutton believes that future AI should move toward continual learning, interaction with the environment, reinforcement learning, and accumulated knowledge retention. In many ways, his criticism overlaps with my own concerns. Today's AI is still far from true system-level intelligence, particularly in the areas of creativity, deep mechanism-based reasoning, and long-term retention of lived experience. As an early AI student in early 1970 of Professor Patrick Henry Winston, often considered one of the fathers of academic AI and the longtime director of the MIT AI laboratory, I strongly agree with Sutton's viewpoints. However, I must also admit that today's AI has reduced my writing time by approximately 50%. Although final editing and deeper conceptual integration still require the natural intelligence of the human brain. Conclusion. My medical research as biomedical forensics. I often feel that my medical research work is similar to the work of a police investigator solving a complex murder case. A good crime investigator is not satisfied with simply knowing that a person died. The investigator wants to know the whole hidden story. Who was the killer? What happened first? What warning signs were ignored? What factors slowly built up? What finally triggered the murder? This is exactly how I approach my medical research work. After my hemorrhagic stroke, I did not simply say, my blood pressure was high. Instead, I asked deeper questions. How many years of vascular stress had accumulated? How did glucose damage interact with blood pressure? How did sleep, visceral fat, aging, and pulse pressure contribute together? Which factors were long-term contributors? Which factor became the final trigger? Which warning signals appeared years earlier but remained and noticed? This type of thinking is very close to a forensic reconstruction used in police investigation, aircraft accident analysis, or structural failure engineering studies. My goal is not only to label the final disease. My goal is to rebuild the hidden chain of events that produce the final event. This is why my work feels different from traditional medical papers. I am not only studying disease names or statistical probabilities. I am trying to understand the dynamic failure behavior of one biomedical system through long-term trajectories, interaction effects, accumulated stress, and triggering thresholds. In this sense, I gradually changed from a medical observer into a biomedical systems investigator. That is why I have continued to live with excitement almost every day doing my medical research work. In many ways, I felt like I was solving mysteries every day. Similar to investigating complex crime cases within a continuously changing biomedical system. Epilogue today, after surviving multiple chronic diseases, 5 heart attacks, kidney failure, dangerous neuropathy, and a hemorrhagic stroke, I no longer view my 1,640 papers as academic output. They are the learning notes from my medical logbook of past 17 years. They record one human life. Trying to understand survival, suffering, neuroplasticity, discipline, behavior, aging, and biomedical system failure. My work began as an =1 because I was trying to save myself, but through sharing feedback and knowledge philanthropy, it has gradually moved toward an M. Although in a somewhat different way and meaning from the traditional medical researchers. Definition: my personal survival record may now help other people recognize their own warning signs earlier and make better lifestyle decisions. At least for now, these learning notes honestly record my medical improvement and health recovery journey, both pathophysiologically and psychologically. They are not written for fame, power, or money. They are written because I survived long enough to learn something. And I want to share that knowledge before it disappears with me. Disclaimer: write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No. Doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to T. The author, Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.